This is a Geek Leader podcast, and I'm your host, John Rauda. This show is all about helping us grow as leaders, become better technologists, and improve our lives both at work and at home. I hope you enjoy the show and learn a lot. Welcome to a Geek Leader podcast. I'm your host, John Rauda. And if you could, please do me a favor and take a moment and leave a rating and review in whatever podcast player you're listening to this on, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, doesn't matter. I would greatly appreciate it. And that feedback really helps get other listeners to the show. Also, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you feel so inclined, you can go to geekleader.com/tip and donate to the show. Thanks so much. All right, Geek Leaders, today I'm honored to have Bogdan Micov on the show. He is a go-to transformational expert for elite leaders, entrepreneurs, sales professionals, and people that just want to, kind of deal with their emotional freedom and get past some of the things that they're struggling with, especially when it comes to leadership. He's the creator of the BeRelentless Method, which we're going to talk about today on the show. Anyway, with all that being said, Bogdan, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here. I just wanted to say before we continue and everything, I wanted to commend you for everything that you're doing. I watched some of your shows previously, and it's an honor to be present here on the show. I know that it requires a lot of hard work to bring the value to every one of your people that are watching, listening your show. So just kudos to you, my man, for putting all the effort and trying to change people's lives and to get better lives in general. So whoever is listening or watching this, and no matter which platform it is there, go put a 5-star review and just show a little bit of love for John here, because the show deserves it, and that way we can contribute to better society and better life for other people.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. It really means a lot coming from you especially. But you're right. Yeah, now some people don't realize that, putting in 400, this is going to be like 445 episodes. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of hours. But anyway, thank you so much for doing that. Before we get started, do you mind telling the audience a little bit about your background and how you got into, a leadership and emotional freedom and things like that, and where that's led you to today?
Oh, well, I mean, my background is a pretty colorful background. So I've been, let's start from a little bit earlier age. I've been a professional athlete for almost 20 years. So I was competing for the national karate team of Macedonia, been European champion in karate, been a third on World Cups, and had a decent success, let's say, in the athletic world. And then after that, I moved in Dubai, where I spent 16 years living and working in Dubai. And the first, let's say, 9 years, I was the acting CEO and director of operation of one of the biggest hospitality company in Dubai, build more than 11 massive nightclubs, festival events, fine dining restaurants, and everything that comes with it, until one day I finished in a hospital with a stroke.
Oh, wow.
So there was the point where I said, something has to change. Why? Us Eastern Europeans especially, and most of the male population around the world, we are conditioned to push hard, work hard, love hard, study hard, do all of that effort, suppress your emotions, deal with the stress the way we're dealing. And yeah, it serves us a purpose until a certain level. It served me a purpose in sport. It served me a purpose in career ladder. And then until it didn't serve me a purpose anymore. Mm-hmm. Until my whole nervous system said, no more, just stop it, whatever you're doing it. And that was kind of alarm bell for me to actually see what's going on in the background and what was happening in the background, because I have accepted that it's normal to be consistently stressed. It is normal to be consistently frustrated. It is normal to be overwhelmed. It's normal to be anxious. It was kind of a part of conditioning, but even though we consider it normal, it's not natural for us. I learned that on a hard way. It's not in our nature. Those negative emotions like fears and let's say anxiety, those are protective mechanisms, but just for our own survival. If lion comes in front of us and we need to run away, and when the lion is gone, we should come back to normal. But as a human beings, we have developed that frontal lobe and learnings and conditionings and everything that we start looping into our own head with a completely different scenario stories that will going to initiate the emotions and will going to take us where is going to take us. So most of the time, majority of the people, we are seeing an invisible lion in front of us every day, even though if we are just sitting on our dining table and reading an email, if we can use that as a metaphor. So when that started, and I became very curious, first I was still not accepting it. I need to mention, I was not accepting it. I was kind of a skeptical. I was that hard pushing person. And, I grew up in a pretty masculine environment where my father used to give me a hammer and you go do work around the household since age of 4, since age of 5. And it was kind of that type of environment. I was not accepting it until I realized, until when I'm going to live life like this? Until when? And I started searching for solution. And it was that moment when I got into personal development stuff and a little bit more into psychology. And then I jumped into NLP, then I jumped into hypnosis, then in cognitive behavioral science, then in absolutely everything that I could find until today. And I'm still learning and still growing. And that's how the BeRelentless Method actually got born, where I have collected knowledge, skills, tools from all around the world, from different, let's say, masters, and from different, let's say, professionals in their own area, so I can come across and kind of make a fusion out of it. So, and come up with a product or with a tool, or the best way is a system, a structure, where literally in 2-3 days, maximum 5 days, you can collapse a decades of therapy and experience that complete change in such a short period of time. So I always want to call it like this. I don't want to deal with the symptom. If there is a symptom, I don't want to be the nutritionist that will going to prescribe you vitamins. I don't want to be even the general admission doctor that will going to give you painkillers. I want to be the surgeon where I want to touch on the root cause of the problem and delete literally from your nervous system with precision. So those coping mechanisms that we are having on a day-to-day basis, we don't need them anymore. So you can actually free yourself up and everything that comes with it after that in regards of performance, life, relationships, love, you name it.
So it sounds like you did it like after you had the stroke. The stroke, do you say that comes from like stress and bottling in all that emotions? Is that what kind of?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So let's talk about what emotions are, right?
Yeah.
First, what emotions are. Emotions are just the chemicals. Let's say if you're talking from physiological perspective, emotions are just chemicals that are released from our hypothalamus, that's small part of the brain, and different enzymes, peptides, proteins, bunch of chemicals that are running through our system, through our bloodstream. Now, what truly emotion is, it's a feedback mechanism for the quality of our thinking at this given moment. It's just a feedback mechanism. Now, if we're talking about how the unconscious mind works and why those emotions are there, it's if you consider that it's a feedback mechanism, if you're afraid or you're anxious or you're sad, you feel a physical pain in your chest, you feel like pressure in the chest, usually in the visceral area.
Yeah, and it comes from like that's all cortisol, right? Your body releases
cortisol. Exactly, cortisol, adrenaline, and everything.
Yeah.
But that's only your unconscious mind is telling you, hey, ouch, this hurts. Stop thinking that way. like literally gives, it's a beautiful mechanism to show you that there is something that you will need to deal with at a real time. And but it presents it to you for you to become aware that you will need to deal with it. Otherwise, if all those beautiful emotions, I don't know, joy, happiness, peace, or anything else, it wouldn't be a cortisol, it wouldn't be adrenaline, it will going to be oxytocin, dopamine, endorphin, serotonin, and all that. And that feels pretty pleasant, isn't it?
Yes.
So
I mean, that's where we get the runner's high when we run, right? We get those endorphins and that dopamine for doing something and checking it off our to-do list and things like that. It makes us feel good.
Because, that's the thing. We usually want to externalize, makes us feel good.
Yes.
Nothing from outside of us, nothing can make us feel anything. The only thing because it's our own hypothalamus, our own chemicals, that is coming from our own way of thinking, our own thoughts, or even more precisely said, our own meaning-making process on that particular situation or a thought about that type of situation. So it's not, it makes me feel, it's I feel. And that's when we start taking responsibility about our own state. That we are operating from.
Let's unpack that just a little bit, because I think you're hitting on something that I'm really interested in, and that's taking responsibility for yourself. And that's something that I've struggled with, and I know other tech leaders and people that I've mentored and talked to before have struggled with, because they're always like, he really frustrates me, instead of saying like, I am frustrated, and taking ownership of that. So how can we kind of I don't know if it's rewire our brain, or how can we use some of the things that you teach to help us take ownership and responsibility for the way we feel at certain times?
Yeah. So first, let's discuss. We need to break it down and reverse engineer it. How does it work? We all have results in life, right? Certain results. Those results can be career, money, love, relationship, health and fitness, any type of results that we have. Now, some people, if they don't like the results, they call them problems, but they're still results. So in my vocabulary and humble English, I want to call them results, no matter that we like them or we don't like them. So where results are coming from, right? Results are coming directly from our sum total of behaviors, which means things that we do or things that we do not do. So logically thinking, if we do certain things differently, we're going to have a different results. And if we, stop doing some, or you start doing things that we are not doing before, we're going to have a different result. So results will change. However, how easy it is for most of the people. We are witnessing a lot of people having problem with overweight. They will pay a coach. They will sign up in a gym, and they will go for 1 week, and then after they come back to the same old patterns. That gets you to think that there is something that drives that behavior, that sum total of behavior. And that's our state, the state that we are operating from, our emotional state. Now, a fearful person will going to have a completely different behavior than fearless person. An anxious person will behave differently than a happy person. So when it comes to a negative emotion, why does that affect our, let's say, results a lot? Is simply because we shut down all the mechanisms for growth. We get into a fight or flight mode. Let's say we are angry or we're afraid of, what if I don't reach the quota? Or what if I don't make the revenue that I need to make this month? And we literally, the first thing that shuts down, it's our digestive system. Digestion, because when you're in fight or flight, that energy needs to be pumped into your extremities, because you need to run for your life or, fight against a lion that is going to be there, not to be digesting your breakfast. And then if the digestion shuts down, we do not the nutrients that needs to go from our stomach through our cells through the blood are not going. So that's why people are experiencing burnout. That's why people are experiencing chronic fatigue, no energy, and everything else. Second of the major mechanisms that shuts down, it's our immune system. So the immune system, when it is not working properly, the first thing is you cannot recover. That's why so many people, they sleep 10 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours, 16 hours, and they still wake up very tired, simply because even the immune system does not work properly in that moment. And plus, you're increasing the risk of maybe getting some illness. And third, the most important part, especially for your audience here and for people that are in business and leadership and everything else, when we are in that type of state of mind, we have access to only 20% of our intelligence, to maximum 20% of our intelligence. So I don't care how much knowledge do you have, how many PhDs do you have, and how many courses you have taken on, you have access to maximum 20% of that, simply because the state does not allow you to reach to those resources. Imagine like you have all the resources, they are available, but they're just covered with an umbrella.
Yeah. So, and you basically, when you're feeling like that, you just become dumber. You know?
Well, like literally we become dumb. But take an example. A person gets angry, stands up, punches the wall, and he breaks his hand. That's not really intelligent, is it?
No, not at all.
It's not really intelligent. If that person was more resourceful and didn't get angry, or when he got triggered, he kind of channeled it and calmed himself down, he was not going to break the hand. And that's why people go in jail. That's why people go, like finish in court and paying fine for broken someone's teeth and all of that. Because what they usually say when they go at court, I'm sorry, I wasn't myself.
Right.
That's true.
I wasn't thinking.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking. That's the whole point, because we are incapable of thinking straight in that moment. So imagine how much that affects our career growth, our financial situation, our relationships, our relationship with other people around when it comes. So we did, now we break it down, how the state drives the behavior and how the behavior produces our results after that. But now it's like people will going to tell you, but I cannot stop thinking that way. I cannot stop being angry. Well, there is the emotions come from something before, and that's our thinking, right? So our thinking, or better said, our meaning-making process, the meaning that we assign on that specific situation, or that thought, or anything that is going to be there. And now you ask me a very question: how do we change that part?
Yeah, because a lot of people will say like, "Oh, well, that's just me." That's just me.
That's the point where I want to come to, because that way of thinking, or the meaning-making process, comes from our conditioning. Mm-hmm. Or our conditioning, where all our book of rules lie, our own beliefs, our own values and everything. And conditioning is just a learning from past experiences, something that we have been wired or programmed or conditioned throughout our childhood, our society, where we grew up, and anything else. And that's why it becomes a little bit of confusion when people would going to say, this is who am I? When a client usually comes to me and says like, but this is who am I literally say, fuck you, this is who you learn to be. This is not who you are, because you are way more than that. I don't see a broken person in front of me. I don't see someone that needs fixing. I just see someone that is running outdated code that is not serving them anymore. Change the code, get the old code away, reprogram that part, and suddenly you become a different person. Identify yourself with a different set of values, different set of beliefs, and everything that comes with it. So the first thing, if we want to change, is understanding this part, that they don't make me angry. It's my thinking that I think that that person, whatever they did in front of me, means something bad, and means bad just because that's my belief system saying that that's bad. And because of that, I got angry and I stand up and I punch him in the face. So that's the understanding when it comes to that we are creating it. When you understand that we are creating it, then we need to apply the law of cause and effect. The law of cause and effect is very simple. Or you're going to have results, or you're going to give excuses. Usually, when people like their results, I did this.
Yes.
Right. And when, like, let's say entrepreneurs or business owners, if let's say they made 100 million this month, and you ask them, like, how did you make 100 million this month? And they will be like, oh man, like, I worked so hard, I studied, I put these systems in place, I'm such a good leader, all of that. I did this, I did this, I did this. But if the results were not like they wanted, and they were not in a positive, they were in a negative, and you ask them, like, well, what's happening in your business? Oh, the government is shit, the economy is shit, the employees are not loyal, and now it's not me, now it's happening to me, right? And that's already a victim type of a mindset. In my humble experience and my understanding, if we externalize the problems to something outside of us, we don't have a control over that, do we? We don't have control. And when you don't have a control over it, you cannot change nothing. So if you want to change the results, well, think about it. What is it that you have control over it? And what is it that you can change within you that you have responsible? Take full ownership, take full responsibility about it, even if it's not your fault. Pretend it is. That's how you're getting the remote control of your life and your results in your power. And that's called empowerment. So the first thing is we get out of that effect side of life, or from the becoming a victim, and become the cause. And then we're going to find a solution, because no matter whatever it's happening, there is something that we can be responsible for.
Let me summarize this, just make sure I fully understand. Basically, we need to get out of that victim's mindset, start taking responsibility and ownership for the way we see the world, or we think about the world, and understand it. Instead of saying, to me, I see it this way. Is that kind of...
Here is the thing. Well, very, very true what you said. It's our perspectives. We are incapable of experiencing the world outside of us.
Yes.
We are only capable to experience our own thinking about the world outside of us. Simple example. If you have been born, I don't know, in Uganda, you would have completely different perspective of the world right now in the moment. Just to grow up there. Let's get an example. Go in Spain, go in Ibiza, right? Mm-hmm. And summertime, beautiful girls, most of them topless. No one even pays attention to it. It's fine, it's normal, it's cool. You know, they're taking care of their body, they're tanning, they don't want tan lines or anything else. But a person from Saudi Arabia comes over there, and when they see that, they start developing a hatred, or they start developing negative emotions, because in their belief system, how they see that situation, that's a sin. That's against their own religion. And in their mind is, this person deserves a jail time. So it's the same situation, two different perspectives. It's the same like in your workplace. The boss will going to come, and he will going to give one speech on the meeting. One person comes out of the room encouraged, empowered, and was like, okay, this was a good constructive criticism. And another person said, like, the boss is a fucking asshole. I cannot deal with this guy. I want to kill him. He take it offensive. It was the same words, but those two different meanings in each heads were actually created their reality. So in one person, the boss reality is he's very helpful, and he will convince you in that, and the other person will going to convince you that how much the boss is, dickhead. And he will call him like this his whole life. And that's our own perception. Even myself, I always say this, especially when I have some of the big events. If I'm in a room with 1,000 people, I do not exist. I exist as 1,000 different versions in each one's head, because they all see me differently and perceive me differently. Some people will tell me this guy is arrogant. Some people are going to say this guy is very helpful or very kind. It's matter of perception, and perception, it is projection. So the world outside of us is just a mirror of our inner world from inside our own. And when person understands the nature of thought, then life becomes way more pleasant to navigate, no matter what life presents in front of you and what type of situation. Now, I'm not going to say that situations that it's not going to show that something is going to trigger us or anything else, but understanding this part that we are creating that in our head, we can change how we feel about that so we can handle with that point, especially if we are in a problem-solving environment. You don't want to be working with 20% intelligence. Why did you finish in Harvard, right? Why did you go to have a PhD in that? Like, why absorb all that knowledge if you cannot use it just because you don't know how to regulate your emotions?
Yeah, absolutely. So how do we change our perspective so that we can regulate those emotions?
So here is that there is several ways to perspective, or that meaning making process is just a filtering of data. It's just a filtering of data.
Different lens that you're seeing things through.
Different lens. So there are three main filters. One is deleting, one is distorting, one is generalizing. And those are tuned based on our own personal experiences, our own map of the world, or anything else. And then, when that data of the thought comes, creates the meaning, positive, negative meaning, positive, negative emotion, then certain behavior, then it comes the results. If we really want to have an effortless change to affect the results directly, we need to dig the part in the conditioning. First, what are the beliefs that are that you're executing every day, right? And then beliefs can be changed in literally 3-4 minutes if you work with me. Like literally, that's how long it takes. Why so many people have a problem of, let's say, changing a limiting belief or anything that comes, something that does not serve them a purpose? Because they're trying to do that consciously and just trying to reframe it. Now, you remember at the beginning of the show, I mentioned something. I want to be the surgeon, so I want to come to the root cause of the problem. So for me is, when there is a limiting belief, there is something that precedes the limiting belief, and that's called limiting decision. Because for belief to become a belief is just a generalization of a thought. We need to have decided consciously or unconsciously that this is true, and just repeat it once, twice, it becomes unconscious already belief that we guide ourselves. And most of those beliefs have been formed when we were very, very, very young, because our father said, all rich people are evil, because that was his. I'm modeling my father, and I would be, I accept that as true. I don't even have the capability of questioning the validity of that thought that he said, and I accepted it. And then my whole life I would have problem with money. Unconsciously, we start sabotaging ourselves. Unconsciously, we make some money and then we spend them. You win a lottery, you spend it after 3 months. You make a little bit more and it's kind of itchy pocket, so you want to go and you start overspending on things that you don't even need. And that's the self-sabotage, because in the background, that belief works like rich people are mean people. I don't want to be a mean person, right? But the crucial part is there was a point of decision that it was made, that when in that moment. And so if I want to treat a limiting belief, I would treat it like a limiting decision. Now, the main part here is most of those unwanted limiting beliefs that are stopping our progress, that aren't serving a purpose anymore, they have attached some certain negative emotion to it. And that negative emotion works as a glue, as an anchor to keep that belief alive. So we can keep on reframing that belief all the time, but that negative emotion is still deeply wired in our nervous system. And when it's there, it's kind of an emotional residue standing there. Until we clean that negative emotion and release it from there, it's going to be pretty difficult to change a limiting belief. But the moment when you release that part and literally, let's say, I use the word deleting because it is deleting. Let's say that the mechanics is deleting from that thought, from that belief, then we can reframe it and install completely different belief about certain situation. Like, there is a beliefs. So many women outside there, at least in my country, they will say every man is a cheater. But is that true? No, that's their belief. And they didn't even, they see their father at home with their mom, 60 years in marriage, they haven't left home, and they still believe that every man is a cheater because somehow they kind of environment shaped that type of power. But that's more or less just an assumption. And imagine that type of person that believes deeply that every man is a cheater, what type of relationship they are going to have? Or every boss is a mean boss. Or like we said, like the world is a dangerous place to be. I have had clients like that. Oh, the world is a dangerous place. Dude, you live in Dubai. It's the safest place that exists in the planet Earth. There is 0% crime. What is a dangerous? But he finds a proof in his own mind what is dangerous. Just because that decision, someone, maybe they went through a certain trauma, maybe they went through a certain part in the past, which conditioned them in that way. And we needed to work on, let's say, literally deleting that negative emotion there, that fear that was there. And so they can see the world through different lenses.
Yeah. So there's a lot of leaders out there that have those kind of negative, emotions. Maybe they had a bad boss their first job and they think, like all bosses are bad. Then they get promoted and they're like, they don't know how to really lead people because they were conditioned in that certain way. How do you go about like deleting that experience or that perception of the experience?
Let's pretend that you are that type of a person, right? Let's pretend like a role play. So what was your statement?
Let's say I had a bad boss and I believe that, being a boss, I have to be mean and bad because that's what I've been conditioned for. So,
okay. So first, is that 100% true 100% of the time?
Of course not.
Okay. So if it's not 100% true 100% of the time, is there a possibility for you to have some misconception or misinformation about, bosses around the world?
I mean, maybe.
I mean, you just told me that 100% you cannot be sure, right? So there is a possibility for that to happen. So let me ask you a question. When you think that every boss is a mean and however you call them like that, like how do you feel? How do you act? And how do you behave? And who do you become when you believe that thought?
When I believe that thought, I become less happy, angry.
Okay, angry. What else? That's what you feel.
Yeah. I get, let's say I get rude, not as nice to be around. Maybe I don't think as clearly.
Okay, cool. Does that serve you any purpose?
No.
Okay, cool. Now, if this belief was not present, if this way of thinking was not present, how would you feel? How would you behave? Who will you become if this thought were disappeared from your life?
Well, from what I've learned today, I would use 80% more of my brain, so I'll probably be smarter. I would probably be more pleasant to be around. Okay, I would probably have less stress in my life and be a happier person.
Okay, and how would that serve you in your life? And let's say in your career, even.
I think I'd be a better boss. My employees would probably like me more. They may trust me more, and they may do a better job.
Okay, cool. So is this possible for you to feel like happy to be a better person? Is that possible for you?
I mean, anything's possible.
Okay, but how do you know it is possible? Give me 3 random examples that it's evidence that you can feel happy.
During a staff meeting, someone said something that made me laugh, and we all had a good time, and we all, laughed.
Okay, give me another one.
I was doing a performance review, and I had an employee that did a fantastic job, and I was able to tell them the good things that they've done and see a smile on their face, and it made me, encouraged.
And the third one?
When I got promoted and got a big raise, that made me feel good.
Okay, cool. So what changed now, John?
I don't know. What did change?
So here, this was a role play, right? This was a role play.
I tried to be a good actor here too.
Yeah. So, but here is the thing, right? Because you're trying to get into a role into someone else. The first thing is we challenge the truthfulness of that thought. We can do it ourselves, right? This is something that we can do it on ourselves at any point. Am I 100% sure that this is true 100% of the time? And if you say yes, it is, then you're pretty much you need to question yourself.
You're a liar.
Yeah, question yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then we weaken the belief with inviting a doubt about the belief. Like, is there a possibility that you might have misinformation or misconception about this subject? And then you agree with that part. So there is a doubt. And then we just test how this belief serves you in this moment, so you can really feel that this is not beneficial for you. So it becomes, okay, I am angry, I'm bad, I'm this, I feel like that. Everything goes that way. And then after, if that was removed, how would you feel? I can feel this way, I will feel this, I will behave this way, and this is going to serve my purpose. And then what we did, when I asked you, like, give me 3 examples, random examples that are evidence that you can feel happy and you can be productive, that's we're creating a new generalization. And what is a belief? Just a generalization, repeated several times. And the moment when that happens, do it several times, the belief itself kind of dissipates.
Yeah,
the old way. Now there is way more different tools, more advanced and more profound tools that it can be done. But this is one that every one of us can do it in our own time. We just need to become aware that we don't feel okay with it in our body, which means our thinking is off. Okay, let's see what we are thinking and what do we believe about that, and what belief supports that type of negative emotion.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. And I love the fact that it's something that people can start today. This can be a starting point, right? There's, like you said, there's more advanced techniques, there's more advanced things to do, but this is a good starting point to let people question their limiting beliefs, And a lot of people, I heard one person say it one time that in a way they said that one of the things we do is we label things in certain ways, and this labels limit us from, we may label ourselves as being, well, I'm just not good at math, so therefore I'm going to be bad at math. Whereas I could say, I need to practice math and I'll get better at it, and change that whole perception. And
but labels is just expression of the meaning-making process.
Exactly. Yep. We just put a name to it, right?
I always say, like, because I mean, I've coached thousands of clients when it comes to especially high performers and entrepreneurs, like high-level individuals, celebrities, athletes, high-level sales professionals, because I was one of them as well at a certain point of life. And we want to label things. I mean, by human nature, we are labeling things. So even the word hard, if we label this situation hard, the meaning making for most of us, the word hard has a meaning of struggle. So when someone has a belief that we need to work hard, means that we need to struggle so we can succeed. And but if we are consistently looking for struggle, what type of life we are going to have?
A hard life.
It's going to be like a really hard life, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying effort not to be there, but if we just change the label, instead of working hard, to say, just with a different words, to say, I just need to work enough hours and put the right amount of effort that is aligned with my goals.
Mm-hmm.
Feels completely differently. Just one small little tweak on the meaning making process. And that in language, in words, means a lot. You will never going to hear me, I mean, almost never, I'll say, oh, this is hard. I always say this is not easy because it feels better just by labeling it as not easy.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
those labels literally will go into, when you say hard, literally your brain creates a picture, something like a struggle, and that will going to create that emotion, frustration, whatever it is. It's not going to be a positive emotion, definitely. And then you'll start hating your job, start hating your career, you'll start hating your day-to-day, and you'll keep on piling up that, and that has a limit. But if we just start seeing it from a different perspective, you can still work the same amount of hours, you can still put the same effort, but you can enjoy doing it. The same like when we were kids. When we were kids, we were going to play on the street for 15, 16 hours, not even eating, just playing football, basketball, like God knows whatever we're going to do, and we don't get tired, right? Simply because we don't have worries. We don't worry about what's next because we enjoy the game. So imagine in your career or whatever you do in life, especially in entrepreneurship, if you literally enjoy that day to day, you will not going to stop working. You will work more. You will become more productive. You will become, and you will definitely have a way better results that you're having if you're just a warrior, anxious person, or fearful person, or frustrated, angry person consistently. Everything will going to lead to way better results than in the current situation. Now, what people say, but people need to struggle. Yes, we can struggle. Let's say professional athletes, that pain that we feel during training is real, right? And we're going to say, no pain, no gain. I will use that part, no pain, no gain, consistently. But the word pain in my brain has a meaning. This is bodily sensation for growth.
Yeah, growth. Yeah.
Not a struggle. This pain for me means bodily sensation for growth. And if you really speak with people that learned how to see the pain as a bodily sensation for growth, those are the people like Michael Jordan, like a Kobe Bryant, like a Ronnie Coleman, like Mike Tyson, and absolutely everything, that they enjoyed every single moment. And that's why they become who they are. They were not worried. They just needed to go and do the job. They were not saying, oh my God, I need to train today. No, they show up first, 2 hours before everyone else from their teammates, because they didn't say, oh, this is a painful. In their mind, it was bodily sensation for growth. This is something good, not something bad. And that's part of our meaning making.
So let me ask you a question, and maybe this will shift gears a little bit too, just because out of curiosity. How much did martial arts and doing karate kind of help you with the mindset of discipline and understanding that growth mentality of, the more you train? Because me and my children do martial arts, and it's one of those things that I think is important for their discipline side, and also getting them to kind of understand, like, if you practice hard and you work hard at something, you see yourself get better, and it's almost like a reward, and you realize like the hard work is not bad. It's actually really good because I'm getting better at this thing, and I get the next belt, or I move up, and now I can break a board, and I couldn't before, and whatever else.
Well, I would say that that was probably the most valuable experience or knowledge that I have experienced in my life. First, you learn discipline.
Yes.
Right? Especially in martial arts, especially when you're training really traditional karate, and when you have a good coach. First, you learn discipline. There is no 30 seconds late on training. You're not coming on training 30 seconds in. You come in. You need to show respect to the gym, to the coach, to your teammates. So you create a teamwork spirit that is going to be, and respect towards everyone. Then you learn how to fall in love with that pain, because you will stand in front of the makiwara and you will start punching 1,000 punches every single training. Your knuckles are swollen, but you don't even feel it anymore because if you fall in love with that. And then you have competitions, right? So then you learn how to deal with your fears. You learn how to deal with your anxiety. You learn how to deal with all that part, because if you are fearful, no matter how physically prepared you are, you're burning that fuel very fast, and kind of people get blocked. And simply fight or flight mode. Digestive system shuts down, immune system shuts down, intelligence shuts down, and of course they're blocked. There is no more. The arms does not leg. The brain does not signal properly the arms or the legs. There is no movement, no mobility, and people get knocked out, and or something like that similar. So sport was one of the main, let's say, base points for me for what I do right now. It helped me a lot in the career. It helped me a lot. If I would always say, if I knew back then what I know now and how I live my life now, probably I would be 10-time world champion. But I still didn't know. And in that moment, we were in Macedonia, dude. We didn't have money for nothing, yet for, therapists, yet for psychologists, sports psychologists. There was nothing for us. It was have a piece of bread with a little bit of, I don't know, some salami inside, eat that, and just train 3 times a day. There was no conditions, and we still had a decent result just by that, discipline and persistence and perseverance and anything else. But if I did understand my emotions then, like now, my results would have been way, way, way better.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that we're starting to see a lot more with sports too. I had Brandon Epstein on the show a while back, and he's a mental coach that coaches UFC fighters, and he's talking about how the idea of being able to control your emotions and understand what you're feeling and what you're thinking going into a fight, into the octagon, is going to completely change your outcome. And
absolutely,
exactly in line with what you're saying right now. If you would have known that, imagine how much even better you would have been.
Absolutely. But look, just if you're watching UFC and just observe, the people that talk a lot always finish knocked out. People like GSP, like John Jones, like Islam Makhachev, like even this guy, the new guy, Ilia Topuria, right now in the moment. You see how confident and smiling he comes inside. They're not there shouting and being angry or anything else. They come loose, relaxed. Even Conor McGregor at a certain point, when he was in his prime, he was so loose before the fight and after the fight. Especially I remember the fight with Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo entered the fight stressed.
Yeah, he was nervous. You could tell it. I remember
he was nervous.
Yeah. And Conor
McGregor was so loose. He was like, loose. Let's go, boy. Let's go, boy. From the let's go, boy, you can see, because he was not thinking about what if. Like, cool, let me go. And even these Dagestani people, let's say, I have massive respect for, let's say, like Khabib and his team and Islam Makhachev right now in the moment. Those people, they're not getting emotionally involved with this, because if you see on all the interviews, they say, it's not up to me, it's up to God. So my job is to train and to show up. That's my job that they're going to tell you.
Yeah, like all the time. In the work going into it, and
so they come in with trust. So they don't put additional pressure on them and anything else. And they know if they lost, okay, God is teaching me a lesson that I need to improve in a certain area of this part. And they don't dwell on it, they don't grieve it, and absolutely anything else. And in my world, God is that unconscious mind. God is our perception. God is all that infinite intelligence that runs throughout us. So whatever life presents us, or is a good lesson, or we're going to have good results. There is nothing bad. As soon as we get to learn from our mistakes, we will going to be growing. And if we make a mistake, I mean, how will we even grow if we don't make mistakes? And how will we learn, or how are we going to get better if we don't make mistakes? It's a part of thing. But dwelling on that mistake, self-blame, and then creating like a low self-esteem or anything like that, it's just going to block us for further growth.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I was talking to a business leader today, and I mentioned to him that, one of the things like that he's struggling with getting started on something is he's afraid of making a mistake. I said, well, you'll never know how far you can go until you make that mistake. You'll never know like your limits unless you fall. Like you could have gone a lot further. You won't know that, and you won't have learned from it, and you won't have advanced. So it's kind of one of those things. Though.
But for me, in my mind is like, oh, I'm afraid of making mistakes. Okay, tell me one human being that haven't made a mistake in life. What makes you think that you are that godlike being? It's rather silly to be thinking like that. We need to embrace the mistakes.
Exactly. Yeah.
In fact, if we make a mistake and we learn from it, we just grow automatically.
Yeah, I think mistakes are kind of like that pain you're talking about when you work out, when you exercise. That pain from training. Yeah.
Go back to drawing board and just learn something more. No, you make a mistake and you find something that you should improve. Certain approach, add additional skill, or I don't know, whatever it comes there. It literally points you in the right direction so you can grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Bogdan, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate it. I feel like I've learned a lot, and I feel like our audience is definitely going to get something from this for sure.
I hope
people are interested in learning more and connecting with you online and maybe getting some coaching. How can they do that? How can they connect with you?
Probably the best way is to find me on Instagram. At the moment, the handle is Micov Bogdan, Micov Bogdan, and I have a special gift for your listeners and for your audience. So if they follow me on Instagram and they just DM me podcast, I know that they're coming from you, right? So straight away, I'm going to give them a gift they can choose for some of let's, I don't know, how to change a belief on spot, or how to literally destroy fear, anger within 5 minutes, whatever they feel in that moment. I can give them a gift. That's something for my people, my clients that is in my paid program. I just want to thank them for listening at the same time and just reward them with that. So everyone who is it, if you just text me podcast, you're getting the gift.
Awesome. I'll put that in the show notes too at geekleader.com so people can go there and click through and find your Instagram that way. Yeah. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. I had a great time.
Me too. Thank you so much.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Please go to geekleader.com to learn more about what this guest is up to. Click on their links and connect with them online. I would also greatly appreciate it if you could leave me a rating and review in Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to the show. Make sure you've subscribed if you haven't already. And if you feel so inclined, you can leave me a tip by going to geekleader.com/tip.